Hi, welcome to Think Tech. We are raising public awareness about technology, energy, diversity, and globalism. This show is Center Stage. I'm your host, Donna Blanchard, proud managing director of Kumukahua Theater. And we are coming to you live from Pioneer Plaza in the heart of downtown Honolulu, very near Kumukahua Theater. I'm excited to tell you today that I am interviewing, I'm flummoxed already. I saw this woman's one-person show and had to reach out to her, didn't know her at all, had to reach out to her to say, I really enjoyed your show. The presentation was amazing. Lo and behold, she is now here in the studio with me, and her show is going to be at Kumukahua Theater next week. And I rarely do this, but I want to make sure that I get this right. Jeannette Hereniko started her career as a professional storyteller in schools in Oregon and Hawaii, and she's best known as founding director of the Hawaii International Film Festival, but she also founded the Palm Springs International Film Festival with Sonny Bono. Love that guy. Without further ado, Jeannette Hereniko, welcome to my show.
I am delighted to be on your show. I've seen your show. I think you're a great interviewer, and it's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. That's really nice. You're, I'm going to give just a little nutshell about your show. Your lovely one-woman show is a conversation you have with the audience, and you made us all feel like we're sitting in your living room with you.
Oh, thank you.
Felt
That's
very
great.
welcome and at home, and you just happened to have slides behind you while you were doing it. And you told us about your journey, your life, a big chunk of your life journey anyway, is wrapped up in all of the work that you've done in film. And I felt like, I'm trying not to get emotional when I say this. I felt like your spirit reminded me of my mom.
Wow.
And and the environment that you created was so familial. But I think that you probably got to do things that my mom and so many other women of that generation wish they could have done. You're the woman they wish they could have been, because it doesn't look like you ever let anything stand in your way.
That's quite an introduction. Thank you, Donna. And I need another cup of coffee already. Well, first I want to start replying to the fact that you felt it was your living room, because that means a lot to me. And the thing about Kumukahua Theater, it's really like a living room. Oh, yeah. And we're going to put up a black curtain in front of the set that you've got of your play now, because it's a Dark Night series. And it's going to be really like storytelling. And that is what I hope will be kind of a familiar kind of a feeling where people will feel that it's around the campfire, only it's in Kumukahua Theater, and it is storytelling. And I've never really thought about that truly until you said it. That am I doing life different than other women my age? I just am I'm just being me. But I think I am deliberate about, I've always been pretty clear on what I wanted, for better or for worse. And decided that that's the choices I was going to make to get there. And one of my big choices of life is really to meet people from other cultures and really learn about cultures. We're only on this life once, There's not a dress rehearsal, and we better take advantage of it. And for me, what it means by taking advantage of people, to meet people that have a different lens of life, that look through life a little bit differently than I might, and then try to understand that. That to me, that's the presents under the Christmas tree, or the candy on top of the drawers waiting for you to do.
That's amazing, and learning about people through the films that they make. It's a wonderful opportunity. It's wonderful opportunity to get inside other people's living rooms. So you making that happen here in Hawaii, making that festival happen here, is a treasure for us. And we're getting a little more meta with it when we talk about your show that's going to be at Kumu, because there's a lot goes into the production of a one-person show.
That's true, right. But I must say, not as much as going into a film festival.
Sure, okay, I believe that.
I really got to tell you that doing a film festival, doing a film festival did help me do was produce a film. because right after I finished the Hawaii Film Festival, after 15 years of being the director and finishing the Palm Springs Festival, I went into producing my husband's film, The Land Has Eyes, on this little island of Rotuma in Fiji. And that took all the skills that I learned doing a film festival to do it. To do a one-woman show like this was over a longer period of time, because the others were team, really had to have a team with doing a film festival, with producing a film. It's not one person that makes it. It's a team of people. How do you motivate the people? How do you work with them? How you cooperate, and how you adjust, how you make these fine compromises as you go away. Yeah. But a one-woman film, that's a one-woman show, that's yours, and it's up to you to do it. So it's a little different.
Yeah, it's greater responsibility for one person to do that, but also you have that freedom.
Yeah.
I would imagine, I'm going to compare this to when I moved here. From the Midwest, I sold pretty much everything I owned, and you make decisions about, I'm keeping this and this and this, and I'm keeping 9 boxes worth of things that I sent over. When you do a one-woman show, when you say, here's what I'm going to talk about, but here's everything, and you can't keep everything. I'm going to keep this and this, and these are the most salient points that I really need to have in there. Yeah.
Yes, a little more complicated, but not much. You're on the track. In my case, I see myself most of all my life as a storyteller. That's been my great love of my life, is telling stories, of creating a atmosphere and a feeling and a story and characters with the audience, so it becomes kind of a two-way street. And that's what I loved about your introduction, because you said it really was part, and that's true. Like at Kumako, I'll see the people, and it'll be a little different than you heard before, because it'll depend on them, right? But it'll be the same story. So how do you do the stories? Well, because I've always been a storyteller, and I knew in the back of my mind I always wanted someday to go back to storytelling. That's what that's kind of how life goes in a circle. Yeah. I really want to go back to storytelling. So I've been writing a long time, and I got serious about it in '97 when my husband, Jeannette Hereniko, took a sabbatical and went to American Film Institute for directing films. And it so happened that his teacher teaching directing also taught how to tell your life story.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't that fabulous? His name was Mark Travis. Now, Mark has come to Hawaii for the last 15 or 16 years. Billy and I brought him over one year, and then Alisanne Parker brought him over for 14 or 15 years more, and now Elsha Bonnard's bringing him over again. So people here can learn what I learned that year in California and make their own one-woman, one-man show. But anyway, so I just started writing stories, and some of them were pretty bad, but pretty soon you've just got this big drawer full of all these stories. So I've done this, my second show, and I did this both times. So my first show, I put all them out. I put all my stories out like a deck of cards. And what is the theme? What's running through here? Yeah. And it's shocking. It's shocking if you do this, because you might have 150, 200 stories. And what is it about? That's the question. So my first show that I did was called Wild Wisdom, and I was shocked to find that my first story was about my mother and my sister and my relationship with them. Even though I had started the Hawaii Festival, I'd done the Palm Springs, but it wasn't that. It was about my mother and my sister, and it ended up that they had early Alzheimer's, which came about, as I found out from watching the CNN news. It was because of a gene that was passed on to people born in Walter, Russia. And
my goodness.
That happened to be where my grandfather was from, Walter, Russia. So anyway, when I discovered that, and I took that, and that's why when I discovered it, I might have had a 50% chance of having that gene. And I never talked about that. I mean, we talk about that. But I wrote about it. And I realized that decision, when I found out that I had it, influenced so much of my life, because I quit doing the Hawaii International Film Festival. I don't say that in my second show, but I did in my first. That's why I quit, because I didn't know if I was going to get Alzheimer's, and I wanted to go around the world and really experience things. So that was my first story, Wild Wisdom. And so then I started, after that show, it was a big success. It was at the Kumakahua Theater.
Okay, that's the one that you had there. All right,
Yeah,
awesome.
Wild Wisdom. And I also did it at the Hawaii Loa Theater. And Joyce Maltby was my director.
Oh, wonderful.
And I took it on tour to California and Oregon. I went back where I'm from in Oregon and presented there, and it was a big success. So I just kept writing. And so finally I thought, it's time for my second show. And so I put those things out and pulled out what I thought were transforming experiences that really changed my life.
Yeah. It seems like it would be possible that your choices that you would make might change based on where you are in your life, how you might curate them. And again, I got to go back to my analogy. The things
right,
that I
curating.
decided these are the things that are most important to me. If I went back and curated things, those things again, I might choose differently. I might make some different choices. So, I find it really interesting that you did not set out to write a show that was about your relationship with your mother and sister, but
No,
that's what came out because that's who you were at that point
that's
in
right.
time.
Well, it was a great, that was the arc. That was what caused things to happen before and after. And I went way back in my first show. I went back to my childhood.
Yeah.
And I carried it right up to getting married to Vili. This show, I go back a little bit just to catch people up, and I certainly do talk about marrying Vili, and because that's a cross-cultural, I wanted to do cross-cultural. When Strangers Meet is the theme of the Hawaii International Film Festival for the first 15 years that I was a director. And I love that theme. That came from a man named Frank Tillman, who's a great philosopher and a professor here in Hawaii. He threw that out once in a brainstorming session with about 6 of us sitting around a table. And I've always sorry kind of that the festival didn't keep that theme, because to me that's what the film can do, and that's what I like to emphasize with the Asian Pacific films we had. So I just took that theme and kind of looked at stories where strangers are meeting, and it can be in your family. It can be in your workplace, and it can be in other cultures. And in my show that's playing now, you find strangers in all those places.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Okay, we're going to go to our break.
Okay.
We're going to come right back and see what I mean about Jeannette. She's so engaging. She makes you feel like you know her, and she giggles like a schoolgirl. Gotta love that. Okay, we're going to take a short break. We will be right back on Center Stage.
Hello, I'm Crystal from Quack Talk. I've got a new show here. You've got to tune in. Check out my topics on sensitive, provocative female issues. So, Tuesday mornings, 10 o'clock. Don't miss it. It's going to be fun and dangerous.
Hi, I'm Chris Leatham here with Think Tech Hawaii, and I invite you to watch my show, The Economy and You, each Wednesday at 3 o'clock here in Hawaii on OC 16. We look forward to seeing you. Aloha.
Aloha! I'm Chantal Seville, the host of The Savvy Chick Show, which you can watch every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on thinktechhawaii.com. On The Savvy Chick Show, we are all about inspiring and empowering women and girls to be the best they can be by having amazing guests from all around the world. So we hope you'll join us every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Aloha!
Hi, we're back on Center Stage. I'm Donna Blanchard, and I'm talking with Jeannette Hereniko, and we're talking about the process of putting together a one-woman show, but really within that, the grand scale is just a lifetime that your lifetime that went into it. The show is called When Strangers Meet, before I go too much further. Oh, hello. It's at Kumukuhua Theater June 5th, 6th, and 7th at 7 o'clock each of those nights. And you can get information if you go to Eventbrite and look for When Strangers Meet, you can get it there. If you call us, we will also be happy to help you get to those tickets. I'd like to hear, if you don't mind, a little more about, so you had a class in putting together a one-woman show, and then you lay everything out and you decide, these are the stories that I want to tell, and then you already had a big background in storytelling.
Right.
When you were telling stories before, were those your stories? Like back in Oregon?
Oh, no, back in Oregon? Yeah. Well, back in Oregon, that's an interesting story in itself. Back in Oregon, what I like to do was research the history of where the kids I did in the schools, with the artist schools. So if they lived by Table Rock, I would go find the original Tequilma Indian legends about Table Rock and tell them those stories. So I'm really big at environment, and tying in, where do you live? What's the Aina telling you? Even back in Oregon I was. And so I wrote a book called Touching a Season of Time, which was not just my stories that I'd research, but the kids' stories, because I'd have them write stories and illustrate them and share them. When I came to Hawaii, I kind of wanted to do the same thing, so I researched Hanauma Bay, because I lived out in the Waikai area, and I wanted my kids to know, first of all, what that was like. But I found out there were plenty of Hawaiians, thank you very much, that were telling stories already about the Aina, and they didn't need a mainlander, very frankly, coming from here and telling stories. So I felt I was picking flowers in someone else's garden.
Oh, yeah.
So what I started to do was interview the teachers and spend time with the teacher. And I was just blown away how the teachers here in Hawaii, every one of them, had amazing stories. Like my daughter was going to Cocohead, and I talked to her teacher, and she remembered Pearl Harbor. She remembered her being a little tiny girl and seeing her mother getting her trunk and picking out dishes and slamming them against the wall and wailing, and she didn't know. So I would go in and I'd tell the story of their teacher, but I wouldn't say it was a teacher. I'd tell the story, and the kid's eyes would be so big, and then I would say, and this is your teacher. Teacher would be crying. But I love doing that. I love telling stories, because every single person has a story. They don't think they do. They don't think they do. Oh, no, my life is boring. But you go talk, you know that too, Donna. You know that for sure.
I honestly, I'll take it a step further. I believe that if we knew each other's stories, you cannot hate someone, you cannot want to hurt them, you cannot want to blow them up.
That's right.
I think it's the avenue to world peace. It's just understanding each other's stories. Because when you're in traffic and someone's bothering you, someone's behaving badly on the road, they didn't wake up and decide, I'm going to be an idiot on the road.
Yeah, that's right.
They have a reason somewhere in there. And the teacher who, what a beautiful, I got goosebumps. Zuri said in my ear, she got goosebumps too. Well, that sort of story just immediately endears you to someone.
That's right. So that's why I got thinking, as I got older, well, what about my own story? Because I was always kind of telling other people's stories. I was always showing movies about other people's, and I wondered if I had any stories to tell. And of course, I knew I did, because everybody has a story. So that's kind of what motivated me to start writing. And I really wanted something for my grandkids, Maybe it's not a film, maybe it's not a photo album, but it's stories. It's stories. So I'm going to record on Sunday. I hope that's okay with you.
Yeah.
We're bringing a camera in and a sound person, and I'm going to record this so I can pass my stories on.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I think that it is a beautiful thing that you are also teaching all of us that all of our stories matter.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
That a lot of people don't feel that way. And a lot of people will say, and Kuma will say, well, what would you, if you were going to write a play, what's the story that you would tell? Oh, I don't have any stories.
It's like that teacher I told you that you said you got goosebumps. I had, no story. I mean, 45 minutes worth of just absolutely phenomenal stories and things that she thought no one would be interested in, about sneaking down at midnight to Hanama Bay with an orange and passing an orange to the boy next to her, thinking that was so cute, and all the girls giggling, you know. I mean, those are the details, those little details of your life just make it fascinating to people, but they don't realize it. In fact, my husband, when he made his first film, The Land Has Eyes, it's an autobiography film. And he wasn't going to make that. He had another story in mind that he was going to do. And he met, through the Hawaii Film Festival, met this wonderful filmmaker from India called Buddhadeb Dasgupta. And Buddhadeb says, no, that's a wrong film. For your first film, you must make your own life. You must do your own life. That's the only thing you really know better than anyone else. Billy says, my life is not very interesting. I was the youngest of 11 kids, lived, you know, we didn't have much to eat, and I was in a barrel, and I read the 3 books around, Bible and Reader's Digest and Greek mythology. What's interesting about, hey. So that became the film. That became the first film. And so that's what I'd really, if I get anything across, is just mind what's in you already, especially Hawaii people. You know, we have such incredible stories to share, and we don't have enough confidence to tell them.
Right. Mm-hmm. And how else are people going to know? You know, when I moved here, I thought Hawaii was just another state.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well.
And not everybody can come here and live, because you really have to live here to experience why it is so laughable that we both, laugh at that. Not everybody can come here and live, but they can hear our stories.
Right. And we just got to get people sharing them more. And, King Kamehameha, that's a fantastic story. Leo Kalani waiting for it to be on the big screen, and a great feature film. But, hey, the guy on North Shore sitting down and surfing the waves has got a story to tell. I look around here and I see people, they've got stories to tell. Let's hear them. Yeah. I think that's terribly important. And one of my stories that I tell in When Strangers Meet is about going to Mongolia. Do you remember that? And they were imitating Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, yeah.
Because Sundance sent Quentin Tarantino. That was the worst thing that Sundance ever did. They sent Quentin Tarantino all around Asia to speak to all these filmmakers about how to make a film. And they all want to make Kill Bill. Yeah. The reality is those people in Mongolia have the most incredible, beautiful stories. But they didn't know it. They thought they had to go imitate. And that's why Hollywood has that power. It's the fear of people to share their own stories.
Right. And I think it's so very important for us to share stories in our voices. We need more female voices in the world.
You and I are doing everything we can there.
We are. We're still influenced. You cannot help be influenced by all the male voices that we all grew up learning. But the more we get out and tell our stories, the more, the better we get at that. We have a question for you on Twitter. Oh. How was your experience shooting a film in Fiji, and did you use a local crew?
Okay. Yes and no. I'll answer the last part because it's much easier than the first part. We might run out of time. But what we did is we brought a crew of 14 from the Pacific Islands, and because it was an indigenous film, we wanted the crew to reflect that. So we had people, Hawaiians from Hawaii, plus the Atkins, I gotta say that, plus Paul and Gracie Atkins, who are absolutely incredible for cinematographer and sound, who lived here since the 60s, but they're not Hawaiian. But anyway, we brought them, and then we brought Maoris from New Zealand, and we brought Fijians from Fiji, and we brought Rotumans from Rotuma, all together in the creation of it, and that was our crew. We had 14 of them. And the experience in Fiji was life-changing. I'm not the same person, and you have to come to see the show.
You really do.
Because I'm going to be talking about that. Please come and see that, because it was life-changing.
Well, and that brings me to, I'm afraid it's going to have to be my last point that I make here, is that when you tell that story, and you really make us feel like we're experiencing that. Again, I had no idea how different that would be, but oh man, it's such a wonderful story. There is something also, and I don't know if you learned this, or how you learned this somewhere along the line. So everybody has their stories, the way in which we tell them. Now, there's the next step. And you have a way of telling a story that is never self-aggrandizing in any way, but it is sharing. You're just sharing.
so.
Let me give you this, rather than...
Well, I think I think you brought up a very good point, because I think what stops people from sharing their stories a lot is they think their ego. They think, it's just my big ego telling my story. So there is a technique of telling stories, and that is what Mark Travis does teach. He's very good. There are techniques to learn to kind of help build excitement and structuring the story. But what you're doing is you are sharing. You're sharing what you know. And not sharing that you're have the answers. You share your mistakes. You share when you stumbled. You embarrass yourself maybe sometimes by being honest, but not enough to make anybody just cringe or fall under the seat. But
just enough to make us closer.
You want to be closer, and you want to take people on an emotional journey. That's it.
Yeah, and you are wonderfully talented at it. I'm so glad that we're going to have the show at Kumu. And for those of you who haven't been to Kumu yet, shame. But it's just 100-seat theater, so you're already very close to the audience, and then you're putting your show in front of our stage, actually.
We're taking out a row, so there's less than 100.
Yeah. So it's going to be like 85 or something. But you will feel like you've been to Jeanette's living room.
That's wonderful.
To hear a story and stories that will they're so empowering. That's another thing. I watched the show and I felt like, God, I could do anything. That woman decided she wanted to start an international film festival here. So she did. And all of this is laid out very nicely. People do really have to come and see it.
Well, thank you. And it was a team. I really got to stress that about the Hawaii Film Festival, because it was a team effort. But it takes wanting something and seeing something so clearly. You can walk inside your dream. That's what you have to do. And then you just walk as though it's real, and pretty soon it is.
Oh, what a beautiful story. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh,
and I'm looking forward to seeing the show again. And you can get information about the show if you go to kumukuhua.org or give us a call there. You can get your tickets at Eventbrite. Look for When Strangers Meet. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you.
There's a few other people here I would like to thank. Our floor manager, Rich Prapus, who's right over there. Thank you, Rich. Zuri Bender, our studio overlord, who is in my ear. Thank you, Zuri. And I'd also like to thank Jay Fidel, who somehow manages to put all this together. We will see you next week on Center Stage. Bye.